What's up there guys, it's Mac, hope you guys are well. This is going to be a video about an update as to what's happened with my channel so far, and obviously the pandemic that we're in, the situation that we're sort of all experiencing across the world, and that is COVID-19 pandemic, and it's the virus that's swept over the entire world nation, and it's a very difficult time. As you know, in the UK we've been on lockdown. It's been a long time. One of the guys that's a long time subscriber of my channel, awesome guy, Zelda Theorist, he obviously commented about, you know, where the hell I've been. So I just felt that it wasn't the right time. There was a lot going on, and obviously I didn't want to get into this subject as such. I mean, I didn't know the best way to get onto this subject, sort of explain it, but I mean, in a nutshell, we've been on lockdown for so long that literally, like, I was going, like, my mind was going all over the place. It's a very weird, surreal feeling. It's a very different world right now. I don't really know how to explain what it's like going out in the wild. Like, we had to go to Tesco's to pick up shopping necessities, and there's queues. I mean, ridiculous amounts of queues. And it's also the fact that because there's like a 2-meter distance per person, and there's also, I think there's a limit to only 2 people. Now it's gone down to, I think, 1 person or maybe 2 people per household that can go into the shopping, into Tesco's and supermarkets. And Tesco's and Asda's and Sainsbury's, they're all like that in the UK. They're pretty much, those are 3 big ones, Tesco being the biggest one, but Sainsbury's and Sainsbury's and Asda obviously there as well, and I think the smaller one would be Morrison's, but I haven't seen a Morrison's, but I've definitely been to the other 3, and it's they're all the same. It's like the queues are immense. There's queues to get in and there's queues to pay. So when you go to checkout, there's queues there. People are being advised, obviously, stay at home. So you know, we've all been off, we've all been working from home for the last, I mean, since lockdown began. And it's really weird because there's been awesome, like, summer days, and generally, you know how it is in the UK. If you don't know, it's always raining. So quite weirdly, during lockdown, it's been really sunny outside, so all we can do is just experience it from indoors and the gardens, your front garden and stuff. We do go for exercise, like, you know, we go for walks to the parks, to the family there, but very rarely, because you just felt like, you know, it was a weird situation to try and do that, and you just didn't have the plans in place to sort of arrange something like that, because it felt like a lockdown, you know, like, what's the point? You know, you can't go, you can't enjoy food, you can't sit down in the parks, you can, you know, you had to keep walking. But it was nice to obviously walk. We've done it a few times and it was quite nice. It was a lot more spacious, very empty, but it's the fact that all the food shops are closed, you know, all the entertainment places are closed, cinemas, malls, they're all closed. It's a very surreal feeling. It feels like literally like The Walking Dead, because there's nothing around, and the only thing that you can get is stock up on queues for places like supermarkets, and some news agents are closed. Some of them, I feel sorry for them, because they have to keep open just to keep their businesses alive, and you know, and they're sitting there with like masks around their face, and they're trying their best, but you know, I feel for them, because it's like they have to, smaller businesses especially, they have to sort of keep going in this time, and they must be taking a huge hit when it comes to the amount of footfall from people. Now, the pandemic is the pandemic, and it's none like I've experienced in my life. There's none that we would experience in our entire lives. We're thankful that, you know, we're still lucky that we are all safe, and we're healthy. And you know, I do want to say, I want to clear that up to everybody that's viewing the channel as well, that obviously I'm fine, and you know, to be honest, the only thing that we're not being able to do any tests, there's no like way to actually get public testing done at present time. I think it's only I believe it's only for the NHS staff at the moment, which are obviously our heroes at the moment. So you know, they've been getting their tests where they can, but for the general public it's not been available, so or to the mass majority. So even if you have had a cold and you've recovered from it and you're fine, whether you're immune to it or not, whether you're carrying it or not, you know, the virus itself, you know, we don't know. I mean, we will hopefully get to a stage where we're free from this treacherous virus and life can go back to normal, but I don't think life will ever go back to normal. There's like a sense of fear and anxiety when you go outside. You feel like everything around you is bacterial wise, it's sort of, you know, and yeah, it's hard to explain this. I know I definitely feel it when I'm outside, and I feel like it's everywhere, and I'm extra cautious more than I've ever been, and it's really, it is very depressing, because obviously just the human interaction, I know, seeing your family and friends, that's all been literally non-existent, other than using, you know, Skype and, you know, WhatsApp videos and stuff like that, and FaceTime. So it's a very weird situation, very tough situation, because a lot of people can't see everybody, can't see their friends and their loved ones, and obviously there's a lot of people dying there's a lot of people that are losing their lives across the world, so, and in the UK as well. So, you know, that's the most saddest part, because, you know, I don't want to make that into any small thing. That is the most serious part, and obviously we're going to look out for all the people that are like the elderly people that are more susceptible to this virus. So yeah, it's a very weird situation, and I just wanted to make a video about, just do an update about that, and obviously where I'm at with my channel, and obviously things that you can be doing whilst you're on this lockdown. And as you can see from the title, it's about 10 videos, it's about 10 video games that you can be playing during the coronavirus lockdown, and I wanted to run through the 10 games that I've actually beaten during this lockdown. Now I'm going to do 5 in this video, I'll do 5 in the next video, and I'll sort of break it down like that, but essentially these are games I've actually beaten, and I wanted to sort of like do like a small review of these games, because I don't think I've managed to do a video on these games per se, but they've been in the backlog. And what's the best thing to do when you're locked at home and you can't really go out and socialize? It's catch up on games, you know, catch up on your backlog if you can, you know, amongst other things. But that's one of the things that's been keeping me sane during this crazy time. And then the next few videos are going to be based upon games that you can play during the lockdown status. And then I'm going to make it episodic, so I will continue this series with other games that I've completed and I've beaten, and I want to talk about them in this series, because they're not necessarily new games all the time, so some of them can be quite old. So I'd like to sort of continue a discussion about these games when I've finally beaten them, because, you know, I don't get around to completing these games as soon as they come out, so I can't get a review straight away. So whenever I do get a review, sometimes it's quite late, and sometimes there's no point doing a review that late. So in this discussion video, where I can specifically pick 5 games I've beaten, I can talk about them, and they will cover my review as well. So yeah, let's get into it. Obviously with the channel update, loads of videos in the backlog as per usual, but I wanted to come with a video about the current status of the world with this pandemic, and then I want to move into games that you guys can be playing whilst you're on the lockdown as well, because as you know, the UK has a lockdown across the country. And yeah, so this will be a good time for you guys to catch up on your backlog, and I got some games that I could also recommend that you guys play as well, so hopefully it helps. And leave some comments on games that you guys have been playing, and do let me know if there's any other games that you could recommend for me to play as well. So let's go straight into it. Yooka-Laylees. So I've got Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, and I've got Yooka-Laylee, which was the original one that got ported to the Nintendo Switch. Now, really cool games. I want to talk about Yooka-Laylee first of all, because that game, my god, that game is something else. I've actually was my philosophy when it comes to games is that I want to be able to at least play through the campaign once and beat it. Doesn't matter on what difficulty. It can be an easy, can be a normal. Hard, I don't generally tend to play on that. Recently I've started playing on easy mode because it's just that it's a way of getting through the games, and I personally prefer smaller games that take less time for completion. A really cool website that I'll send a link in the video below is How Long to Beat. So type in a game and then say how long to beat, and then literally you will get a search from Google, and click on that link and it will tell you how long the game will take for you to complete, and average time, and obviously how long to complete as a 100% completion rate, which is obviously a lot more, and including all the side missions. But I just didn't go for the actual standard story on normal difficulty, and there's obviously like a rushed difficulty or like a rushed campaign time limit that they give as well. But generally that gives you a good indication as to how many hours the game will be. I believe Yooka-Laylee was like 11 to 15 hours. I spent a lot more on this game, and it was really annoying. This game I wanted to beat digital, and if you didn't know, this is like a I think I picked this up from eBay. It's like a reprinted cover, replacement cover, comes with the case and everything. So yeah, pretty cool. No cart because it's a digital release that I bought. I believe there is a physical release, but it's really expensive, and you know, that's really what I really wanted just to have on the shelf. I've got the digital copy and it's all with me wherever I go on the Nintendo Switch. This game was meant to be an inspiration, sort of inspired from the original Donkey Kong 64 games and Donkey Kong Country possibly. But Donkey Kong 64 from the N64 was where this game was sort of based on, and I found that I really do not like that genre as much as I used to remember it being in my mind, because they got that lot of that, you know, they don't have voice acting, which would have been really cool. They just basically talk in their own language to each other, and you gotta keep skipping through the text, and I just basically sped through as much as I can because it just got a bit mundane, pressing A all the time and, you know, going through it. But in general, you sort of wanted to just go through the story and then just play the adventure mode and complete it, and that's what I wanted to do. And I got stuck at a point, and it was really difficult to get past that point, because what they do in this game, they make it really difficult where you have to get a minimum amount of coins, or sorry, pages. I think it's pages from the chapter, or like yeah, it's pages that you unlock, which you need a certain amount of pages to complete the final level as well. And I'm not going to give any spoilers in this video, so I won't talk about that, but I will talk about certain elements of the ending that how I experienced it. But obviously it won't be revealing any, you know, story plot lines. But the game has a extremely quite a steep difficulty. The puzzles are very difficult. I know I use a lot of walkthroughs on YouTube to complete the game. What actually happened was that I got through at least about maybe two-thirds of it, and I had at least, actually no, a bit less than that probably. I'd say probably about 40% I completed it, and then I got stuck and then I left it. And then when I came back to it during lockdown, I was like, I need to start with this one before I can move on to this game, and I really wanted to play this game. So this is the sequel, obviously, Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. We'll get to that in a minute. The Impossible Lair. Okay. So Yooka-Laylee, they have a very sharp difficulty, and you gotta sort of, you know, sort of understand where to go. And I really didn't like the fact that you have an open world map where you have to go to the different levels, because even doing that was a mystery and a half. It was so confusing, and I literally had to do walkthroughs and sort of see where they're going so that I can follow the pathway just to get to the next level. I wanted to just complete the different levels, and just to get to a level is confusing as hell. So definitely use a guide for this one. And once I beat it, So I left it because I got annoyed with that, and I came back to it during lockdown, and I actually played it, and then I beat it. And the final boss was really hard as well. My god, that boss was hard, but luckily I managed to beat it, and it took me a long time to beat the final boss as well. But my god, I would say it's got a lot of different characters that are very charming in this game. They've got the different characters where they have actually, just to run into this game as well, the characters from this game have been put into this game in a very nice way. But what I really like about this game is that they did an overworld that's like Mario, sort of New Super Mario Brothers where you just select the levels and you can skip to each levels, so you don't need to play them or search for them like you do in this one. But what you need to do is there is unlocks to do, and it's really weird because it gave me a lot of Zelda Link's Awakening vibes when it came to, like, you can even cut the grass and smack the grass, and it felt like the way you cut grass in Zelda Link's Awakening on the Nintendo Switch. So it gave me a lot of those vibes. The overworld was like that type of 3D look from the top down, and it felt like, you know, I'd say that game, maybe a bit of Pokemon Blue from the top. And then obviously the game itself was completely a style of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I mean, I played that and I completed that game. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze was very similar to the way the mechanics worked. So they took a lot of inspiration from that game, and I'm glad, because the left to right direction is a lot more simpler than open world. I get confused in the open world. It's too big, there's a lot to do, there's a lot of different puzzles, and sometimes you have to repeat the same locations and walk through the same areas just to unlock different pages. Whereas in this one, you're going from left to right and you complete it, and then that's the end of the level, and hopefully you can move on from that. And there's no need for you to sort of backtrack a lot. So that's why I prefer these type of games. Got my money's worth if I've completed the game. So that's what I like to do. I want to at least beat the game at least once and play through it. In this one, the impossible layer is ridiculous. It does not make sense. Initially, in the beginning, when you start off the game, you actually fight the impossible layer, and then you get booed out, and then you start completing the game, and you gotta earn these bees. They're called I forgot what they were called actually. They're called battle bees or something. And the idea is that you get these bees to actually protect you throughout the impossible layer, so they can take a hit for you. It essentially is sort of taking a life, because normally you have Yooka-Laylee. Laylee takes the first hit, and then, you know, she flies off, and then Yooka can take another hit, and then he will die. So I'll put like a lot of different things on where you can get hit and you can stay invisible for a long time and move on to the next section, and before you get hit again, you know, things like that. There's a lot of unlockables they can add. The characters in this game actually come back from this game, but in a very charming way. They have their own little bit. You got the snake, you got the sponge that gives you different weapons. You've got all the little, you know, the little different feathers, and the ghosts that you collect in this one as specials, the 5 ghosts. They have their specialities in this one as well. I really like the fact that a very different game, and you can play this on its own if you want, but this is a much more of a trickier game, other than the fact that the boss over here is just impossible, but the final boss. But the game itself is a lot more simpler, whereas this one, Yooka-Laylee 1, is a lot more difficult to navigate through the level. But the characters in this game, you definitely need to play this one to get an idea of all the characters, because then it's a lot more charming when it comes to playing this game as well, because you recognize all the characters and it's nice to see them in a different setting. But I really enjoyed this game up into the final boss, and I worked out that you unlock the world map and you sort of go through the level, and the gameplay is very similar to Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, if I haven't mentioned that already about 100 times. But yeah, the way you go into pages and stuff like that is brilliant. You can sort of quick navigate to the level, so you don't need to walk 100 miles like you did in this one to go to different areas of the map. You can expand the world again, but they do a little puzzle to expand the map, so you can have 2 versions of the same level, just like you did on this one. And that's really cool. You go sort of find a little puzzle and you're gonna complete the puzzle. To get that done, again, use some walkthroughs if you get confused. I did a few walkthroughs, but at the same time I also just did the puzzles by myself, because it was quite intuitive, wasn't crazy difficult, and it was quite fun to do. And playing these levels were fun. You can rush through, where I rushed through a lot of the levels, but again, they sort of make it so that you have to collect there's about 5 coins per level, and you got to complete the coins to get the snake guide to unlock the actual gates for you so you can expand into the next world. So it's a bit like how in Pokemon Blue, where they block off the level and don't let you go on to different areas of the map prior to completing certain aspects of the same level. That's what they do over here. So that can get annoying, because initially I was just rushing through it and I was enjoying it, but then I realized I have to pick up some coins. So then I had to go back to some levels and go through and hunt through the coins, and then so that's why I used a few guides and I got some of the coins. But there's a minimum amount of coins you need per area, so you can then unlock the gates that he demands certain coins for, and then you could progress and then unlock certain areas. So that was a bit annoying, but at the same time I understood, because it made me forced me to sort of play more of the level and unlock all the worlds. I unlocked all the chapters just to get all the bees, and you got all the maximum amount of bees, and then you could take on the final challenge. The final challenge is just ridiculous, because you need to sort of play the final boss in 3 stages. I believe the first time you play him, you beat him, and then he runs off, and then you play the level, and then you go back and you beat him again, then you play the level, and then the 3rd time you beat him, and that's the ending. And then you're gonna rush to the end as well. So there's so many areas where you can die, and you can only take maximum of, I believe it's about 42 bees that protect you, so you can take 42 hits, plus Yooka-Laylee can take 1 damage by himself as well. So it's ridiculous how hard it is. And what they do is that I watched a video of how they did the ending, and it's doable, but you got to be very, like, I looked at the way they did it, and it makes sense the way you complete the stages, just that you got to do it nice and slow. Whereas in the game, I've just rushed through a lot of areas, and it's been fun, sort of taking a hit and sort of, you know, being visible for the first few seconds, and then surviving the next area, and then get to the checkpoints. That was cool. So, but the thing is, you can't do that in Impossible Lair. The final boss doesn't allow you to sort of rush your way through. You just have to slow down and take your time. And to be honest, I've completed the game. I would say I completed the game because I got to the final boss, I unlocked all the different variables of each chapter, and I'm on the final boss. And then I watched a YouTube video on the long play of the final boss and how he did it and the ending. So I watched it through there, and I'm content, because I'm not going to do that final boss. People are saying it took them 42 tries to do it. It's just ridiculous. Like, it takes a lot of practice, and you got to remember the way the levels move, and it's just too difficult. And I'm not going to do it, because you're going to beat the boss 3 times and then play his level as well, the Impossible Lair, in those gaps. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I wish they made the difficulty a bit more easier. Another thing that I want to compare this with Donkey Kong Country is that I love the fact that they did away with the lives, because in Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze, you have to constantly, when you die, you have like 5 balloons, and then you die, and then you have a few lives, and then eventually when you lose all your lives, you know it's game over, and you start again from the beginning of that level, so your checkpoint's gone. And then you got to start even further back from that level, that one that you already find it difficult to beat. And that's really hard. Whereas in this one, it literally was, you just die, you just start back again at the checkpoint. And I love the fact that they had so many checkpoints compared to Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. This one had way more save points, and I love the fact that they have that many save points, because you want to sort of be able to run to the next stage, and you can rush through and just about make it, and then if you die, you start again from that checkpoint, and then this makes the level a lot more enjoyable. They also have the feature where they had a Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze on the Switch, where if you get killed too many times, they give you the option to just skip through that bit and complete the stage, which is cool, because sometimes it is ridiculously hard. I think I used that maybe once or twice. But other than that, I pretty much completed, because there is no restart right to the beginning, and the lives are just restarts, which is fine. I like the fact that you can just jump straight back into the game without too much loading time, because they killed the whole life system, because life system is a bit pointless, because at the end of the day, you will die, you come back to the beginning of the level and you start again, and you have to redo that bit before the checkpoint, which is annoying. But other than that, it's pretty much infinite lives anyway, so why have the life system? So I like the fact that they took that away. But I can see where they've given you something for a convenience, and basically make it a bit more easier for the game. They sort of take all of that away at the ending, and they sort of do a 360 to make it even more difficult with that final Impossible Lair, which that's frustrating. But anyway, a really good game, but a really bad ending. that makes it really hard to complete the game. So that's a bit of a downside of it, but definitely worth playing for the game, because my god, before I forget, the soundtrack on the levels are so good. I'm definitely going to download the soundtrack. I wonder if they actually sell the soundtrack on CD or anything like that, but I'm definitely going to download the soundtrack. I'm going to listen to it in my car, because my god, the soundtracks are amazing. The songs and the music is just brilliant. I absolutely loved it. It felt reminiscent of those classic games, as well as new experiences, but it just felt like one of those feel good tunes, and a lot of the music in all the levels and the bonus stages are they're just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So definitely do check that game out. Wow, I've talked for a long time. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, The Black Order. This game, again, I was playing it with 3 other players, because it's a 4-player co-op, and we got quite far, which I thought it was quite far, but I've realized it was getting difficult and we weren't getting far enough. And then I started playing it, and I played it for almost several hours, and I realized that even by playing on 1 player on the easiest difficulty and just stampeding through and mowing down and rushing through the levels, I found that it took ages. And I was like, if I tried to play this with 4 players, I would definitely not be able to complete this in any time in a normal time. And again, I told you that time is very precious. I don't have much time when it comes to the putting inside gaming. So if I can complete it quicker, the better. So anyway, I rushed through it, and it was fun. It was a brilliant story. They liked the fact that they had so many different worlds dedicated to specific members of the Marvel universe. So they had one designed for like Professor Xavier's and in the colleges. They had one for the entire Thor world, and I think it was based in Asgard. And then they had all these other different areas that were from the whole MCU universe. If you watch the films, it's brilliant. It's a nice way to sort of round off the story that you had, the film that you watched, and the saga. It's a cool way to sort of round off with a nice game. And it's a beat 'em up from the top down, and you can play 4-player co-op, but definitely if you play 1 player, you can speed through a lot easier, because you can navigate between the 4 players that you have in your team, and you could change the teams around. You unlock so many different characters as you play through it, and you face bosses after bosses. Again, the difficulty in this is very hard. Like the end bosses, like the ending bosses, my god, they kept on adding additional players, and then you beat them and you do the most highest crazy thing to defeat them, and then they basically just stand up and they never die. And it's so annoying because they don't die, and they just literally just stand up, and they're like, okay, cool. Now, what now? And then they basically move on to the next section, and then you gotta fight a different area or a different boss, or them again, and then or them in the 3rd time. And it's like, just die. Then no one ever dies, and they just keep on adding additional bosses that are crazier and crazier on the last one. And you thought one was big enough and crazy enough, and then you get another one, and it's brutal, the amount of bosses that they have in this game. But I got through it. It was still fun to play with the mix of characters. Hulk is definitely one of the stronger ones to play with, but yeah, awesome game. Definitely play it. Now that I unlock all the levels, I can play them individually with like my friends and family, because they're all unlocked now, which is cool. But initially, I'd say play a few levels if you want with your friends and family, and then try play it on your own, beat the game, unlock all the levels, and then you can play the different worlds and different areas like Asgard and the different sort of X-Men style levels with your friends and family on 4 players, because then it's not a biggie, because it's already unlocked and you can just navigate between the chapters. Whereas if it's not unlocked, you're sort of stuck with the first few levels and you'll never get past it. And there's a lot of DLC available for this game. They're adding more characters, which I like. It makes it a more wholesome game. But I think I'm done with this game. I'm not going to play anymore. Okay, here we have Redeemer. This is number 4 on my list. Number 1 being Yooka-Laylee 1, number 2 being Yooka-Laylee 2, number 3 being Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, the Black Order. Number 4 is Redeemer. This game is pretty awesome. I found it on Steam, and I didn't download it on Steam, but I bought the physical copy on the Switch. Really cool beat 'em up, very violent. You can navigate between different weapons, guns, just pick up anything that you have on the floor. It's a really cool 2-player beat 'em up, and you navigate through the level and you help each other out. So if you die, you can revive your partner and you can play on. And I completed this 2 players. This is one of the games where you have to play 2 players. If you play 1 player, it becomes really difficult because you can't revive yourself and you're going to start back at the chapter's checkpoint, which can be really far away. But definitely playing with the actual with your partner, you can actually revive each other and you can plow through a lot of the enemies and sort of navigate yourself back and revive yourself, and then you can sort of plan your attacks so you can get through the hordes of enemies. It's like a massive hordes of enemies that you gotta fight through, and very cool. Some puzzle elements, but majority of it is quite straightforward and you just navigate through and you complete the game. And again, this is one of the games that we've sort of sped through, made it on easy difficulty, but it was still quite brutally hard towards the end. A lot of levels were quite tricky, but a nice amount of violence, a lot of finishes that you can do, almost like fatality moves that you can do. You can pick up a lot of weapons and dash it on people. And yeah, I played this through with one of my family members, and it was really fun. And yeah, it was quite a few chapters, quite a good amount of time. I'd say probably at least a good 3-4 hours. But yeah, I beat that game and it was fun to play, and I definitely recommend it. It's got a really high rating on Steam, and they released it on the Switch quite a few years after. But this is the Redeemer Enhanced Edition as well, and there's obviously a patch that's been updated on the Switch one to make it more stable, so it works a lot better. There's not as many glitches as there were when it was first released. The final game I want to talk about is Devil May Cry 5. Devil May Cry 5, I had this for a while. I picked it up for quite cheap. I think it was like £12 on sale from Curry's. And this was a really cool hack and slash game. I believe it's about 15 hours to complete. Again, do check out that website, how long to beat, to see how long it is. You've got all the Xbox One X features, the One X sort of enhanced, and the 4K aspects. Really cool take on Devil May Cry. I like the fact that they moved the story and they prolonged and they progressed it, and really cool elements of the storyline where I was not expecting. Quite a few twists and turns. I won't ruin it, but definitely play the game to find out. Really cool. The characters themselves are very different. So you've got Nero, Dante, and you've got the other guy, which is V, his name is. So really cool. I beat the game, and all the levels are unlocked now, so you can navigate between the levels and play them. 3 different styles of fighting, and you can play as them. I think they have their own story modes, so you can't sort of jump in on each story with different characters. I believe it's selectable, but really cool storyline. I think V's character is a lot more slower, and you gotta fight with like the animals that he has around you, and he finishes off, so it's not really hack and slash for him, whereas it's more fun to play with the other two because it's a lot more direct hack and slash. But very cool to sort of understand that mechanic when it comes to it, so they've changed it up a lot. I quite like the fresh look to it, and it's really cool mindless hack and slash. Again, I put the difficulty down to easy because I was not going to spend hours and hours destroying just one boss, because these bosses are huge and they take a lot of energy. And with the way I set it up, it was just nice to just navigate through and button bash and kill a bunch of demons. And yeah, it was a good time. Definitely killed a lot of quite a few hours during the lockdown period, so definitely get this up. It's quite cheap now, so definitely get it. Also, after completing this game, I sort of got on the Devil May Cry hype, and I downloaded onto Xbox store. You can get Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition, and it allows you to play as Trish, Lady, Dante, Nero, as well as Dante's brother, which is I think his name is Virgo. It's really cool. They all have their own storyline. Unfortunately, they don't all have their storyline. It's just Trish and Lady have their own storyline, but they all play in the same levels. Whereas Virgo, I think his brother, just sort of plays the same storyline but has no cutscenes. It's really weird because they essentially, he's not really part of the story. They've added him in, but they've added all the players in there, and they've got the area where you can sort of speed up twice combos, so you can speed up the combos as well as you can it's like a turbo mode, and you can play other levels. I completed that on the PS on the Xbox 360, I think, a while back, but I wanted to mention it because I just downloaded it, and it's pretty much like the final, like the definitive edition for Devil May Cry 4. So it's a good game to get and have that on your console. And once you complete the storyline again, you know, it'd be good to play with Trish and Lady because they have a different sort of story cutscenes, so it'll be fun to play, but the levels essentially are the same, so you are playing through the same campaign that you would have completed with Nero. And I think Nero has the best storyline when it comes to the story, because obviously he was part of the main game. Anyway guys, that was my take on 5 games that you should be playing during this time, during quarantine. I definitely had a lot of fun playing these games and a lot of frustrations at times, which I mentioned, but I've got 5 more games I will talk about on my next video. But until then, do enjoy some of the games that I mentioned. Do pick them up. Let me know if you do pick them up and how you are playing through those games, if you have them yourselves. Comment below, let me know what you guys been doing during the lockdown, what you guys been doing to take your mind off things. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Really appreciate all my subscribers. I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers, so let's please get a few more subscribers up and let's get that 1,000 mark of subscribers. I really appreciate all my subscribers, so thank you very much for that. Until next time, take care guys, it's Mac. Peace out.